for this is going to be kind of old school. I don't know if people would still do this in grade school, but you remember accelerated reader tests? You had to do like you had to read a book and then take a test on it to get points, and you had to do X amount of points per quarter, semester, however they broke it down. So I started doing those for kids so that they would give me their kendamas. So I got a stockpile of like 20 or 30 Kens in like a few months because of that.
Yo, what up, everybody? Welcome back to another interview. Today, I have with me Jake Fischer, dude. Another OG kendama homie. Been playing kendama forever. Been on the stage, competed all over the world, taking down some of the biggest championships. All around good guy and crazy party animal at MKO. You know what I'm saying? We'll get into that, though, in just a little bit. Thanks a lot for joining me today, Jake Fischer.
Thank you for that lovely introduction there, brother.
I always like to throw a little something there.
I'm always happy to be here. I may not post anymore, but I'm always still around.
Hey,
I'm always watching.
Dude, so you may not post, but you're watching, right?
I try to. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm the most up-to-date person, but, you know, I try to stay in the loop with at least dope tricks. I mean, I try to. Usually the best ones get sent to me anyways by somebody, so that's I'm very dependent on other people to keep me in the best of the loop, though.
So people are like, yo, Fish, you got to see what Marty just did, or you got to see this.
Well, it's I might not, like, still post anymore, but you know how it is. Like, everyone in Kendama, like, that. I mean, it's beyond friends at this point. They're just people that, like, I just am going to talk to for forever, regardless of how much I post with this boy. Like,
yeah.
Well, it's one of those things. Like,
well, did you never like a poster? Like the only time you were a poster was in the beginning of Kendama, when Instagram was in its infancy. I'd say that was like when you were on your posting grind, when you were going to every comp and.
Very grindy back in the day as far as trick posting. I just got more selective about what I posted. Like, I'm a big believer of quality over quantity. Like, I've never been able to get behind the idea of, like, the daily posts. Because personally, I'm not really interested in what people are grinding on a daily basis. Like, I want to see what they got in their back pocket. Like, I want to see what they're, like, hiding. And it's just a different time, though. Like, I sound like the cranky old guy, but, like, because, like, back in the day, we would spend months filming for one video. Now it's like if you go a few months without putting something out, suddenly people think you've crawled under a bridge and died. Like it's just a different time period. Like,
yeah, no, I get what you touched on. I think no, you're not unlike other pros though. You know what I'm saying? Like I can name the people on my team who had the same exact mentality. Like Bryson is probably one of the best kendama players ever, and like you know, he just doesn't post. It doesn't like to post, and that's not what he enjoys about kendama even a little bit. But like if he did, the tricks would be amazing every time.
Oh, absolutely.
You know? But you fall into that regardless of if you think so or not. Like if you posted a trick, I still think your skill is it's such a level that you could do something that to you is chill, and people who are in this chat would see it and go, dang, like Fischer can grind nasty still. Like it's
the flip side of that is like that's not why I posted. You know what I mean? Like I never posted for all the comments hyping me up. Like as great as much as I appreciate all the support everyone gave me over the years, because God knows I've been blessed with ample amount of it from the community. They've treated me far better than I likely deserved. But yeah, it's just something like that. Like I don't know. I've got nothing I've got nothing but great things to say about it. It's just I don't have the desire to post it, and I definitely don't want to put stuff out that I'm not stoked on. Now, granted, you know me well enough that very little things that I do ever stoke me out. Like, but I at least know when I've like grinded on a trick, then I'm happy to post it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, no, I understand that, because that's like you won't be happy regardless of if it has 100 comments and 100,000 like views. You're gonna be like, well, I did it, but I didn't like it, and it wasn't because I was stoked.
It took me 8 hours, and it should have taken me 3. And, I've had these same exact argument every time.
Yeah.
You know what I realized earlier this morning? I was thinking about the interview coming up.
Mhm.
Next month, I'm pretty sure it's next month, 10 years since we first met each other.
Really?
10 I think it was April 2014 was Spowtown Throwdown, the year that we met for the first time.
Wow.
Can you 10 years, dude? Like,
10 I mean, how old were you? You were a youngin' in
well,
high
I
school.
was 16. I had my temp driver's license still. Yeah, like, I flew out there with Chad to meet everybody for the first time, and, like,
Yeah?
a formative core memory that entire trip was, man. Like, it was
Dude.
I can't speak highly enough about how much that trip just stoked me out on grinding kendama. Like, because you gotta think about it from my point of view. Like, you've been blessed with there's been a pretty steady Minneapolis scene for
Yeah.
most of the time you play, whether it just be the Sweets crew or, like, you guys always have a rotating cast and crew, but, like, you always had your core.
Yep.
But, like, Kentucky, like, I it blew up when I first started, blew up. I was, like, pretty much the only one who stuck it out. And then it was Chad for a while, and
Yeah.
then it kind of blew up again. So, just the chance to go see everybody else for the first time was unbelievable for me because I watched DamaFest, 2013 from my house essentially, like, watching all the edits and everything, and let me you know how bad FOMO I get. You can only
Yeah.
imagine what having everybody built up to, like, idol status in my head at that point,
Well, dude, I
and my
mean,
whole
I had though too. Like, is the thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, in 2014, I had just started getting my feet under me with Sweets, and just had a few pro players who were like doing stuff and worthy of like going to these comps and supporting them and stuff. You know, like in Spowtown, I met Dan and I met Chris Bosch and I met Sam Cannon. I watched Sam Cannon. I'm pretty sure I saw Sam Cannon do the first double inward border balance flip in front of my face in Dan Robinson's front yard in 2014. Like, I remember that event again, like you do, like it
Yeah,
was yesterday, bro. Like the Gallagher's
yeah.
taking down the twin battle or whatever it was, or the
Oh,
doubles
yeah,
bracket.
yeah, dude, it was that 4v4 thing, and me, Bonds, Bosch, and,
Oh, that's what it
Shannon
was. The
had
team, Ken.
we went to Goodwill and got the Blazers and everything.
Oh
Not
my God.
something, like, in retrospect, not something I would ever try and pull at an event these days. Like, that is just it's a little ridiculous, but at the
Yeah.
time, hilarious for me, and, like, my biggest drive at the time was just I didn't wanna disappoint. Like, cause I didn't wanna be the weak link. Cause like, you remember the Co team back then, like,
It was
that was what
grinders.
we didn't pride ourselves in our appearance or our aesthetic, that's for damn sure. Like, the one thing we were proud of more than anything was how hard we grinded like, dude,
Yeah.
the superiority complex we all had from Gur paint, dude,
Yeah. Also a
we
thing.
we earned this grip. We earned it's just like, in retrospect, I mean, retrospect is 2020,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. In hindsight,
but
always, dude.
I wouldn't change
Well, so
anything that I ever did.
okay.
Like,
I love
maybe
talking
a
to you.
few.
We've gone 8 different ways. Let's start now. Let's take Spowtown Throwdown and let's back up from there and start
Okay.
me at the beginning and let's get to Spowtown. Like, how did you get to this event? How did you get sponsored by Kenco? What was your motivation? Like, we got to talk about dad. You don't understand. Like, there's a few things in your young Kendama career that we need to hit on. So let's start with
Yeah.
how did you find Kendama? Who was your inspiration in the beginning? And like when did you realize you were good and that you were gonna grind, you know?
So I found Kendama, like, this is a story told 1,000 times over,
Mm-hmm.
just with different environments every time, different
Yeah.
location. It blew up in my area. Like, every kid was starting to play with it. And this one, I remember I was at the local swim club hanging out with my friends, and one of the guys who worked in the concession stand had to go back to work, so he let us screw around with this thing while he was at work. It was cooked. I was cooked from that moment on. I was, like, fighting with my friends to keep practicing, like, so I could get it and, like, keep getting more time on it, and, like,
Yeah.
I had to buy my own, my first one, because my dad looked at me when I told him what I wanted to buy. He looked at me as, "That thing's gonna be in the garage in a month. I'm not spending my money on that," which my past, I didn't give him much reason to think otherwise, so in his defense, but and that's how kinda how it started, and then it took off at my school, and then everybody kinda quit. But I did build up a pretty, neat collection for a while because I would do, for this is gonna be kinda old school, I don't know if people would still do this in grade school, but you remember accelerated reader tests? You had
Mhm.
to do, like, you had to read a book and then take a test on it to get points, and you had to do X amount of points per quarter, semester, however they broke it down. So I started doing those for kids so that they would give me their kendamas.
Oh.
So I got a stockpile of like 20 or 30 Kens in like a few months because of that. And the other part is one of Sour Mash's first ever custom runs. Like they were called alphas and they kind of gray and they kind of had a bleed paint on top. They were
Yeah.
blue, or blue, orange, and red, I think. Two of the three of these things ended up in my neighborhood. Like,
Whoa.
yeah, like Northern Kentucky and Kendama goes back old school.
Yeah,
One
yeah.
of the biggest like ad edits, you'll probably remembered a few of those from back in like 2012 era. People
Mhm.
made like just quick cup edits and they kind of made it like an ad. Well, this
Mhm.
kid in like, Kentucky posted one of those and it got a lot of traction. He's the reason it blew up in our area because he found it at what's that skate camp? Is it Woodward?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So he picked it up there, and this is a videographer kid. So like
Dang.
he got this other kid named Elliot Feltner into Kendama, who was what I turned out to be for all these other kids. He is what I was to them.
Oh,
Or
word.
like this kid, I watched everything he ever put out. Get a few edits, make it onto the Ken Garden blog. That's a
Mm.
throwback. Like
Dude,
that's when you know there's a really good edit when it made it on the Ken Garden blog. Like
I love it, dude. I've been interviewing, I've been interviewing a bunch of OG people, and I think the Ken Garden blog has been brought up every time, and it's such a thing that dates us at this point because
yeah,
literally that's how we got all of our information. Like
before Facebook and
anything,
stuff.
yeah,
Like
anything that was important, you had to go to the Ken Garden to see what was
it
happening.
was like a
And
filter for like it was like a benchmark. Like if it made it on
yeah.
the Ken Garden, you knew it was worth checking out.
Hmm.
Like that. I think that's the best way to put it, at
I had
least for
one
me.
edit made it, and that's like it was a goal. And like I
I
collab with
never
Jake or
did.
something, and I
Actually, I think the lunar flip thing made it on there. I think that's the only edit I ever had on
Ah,
there.
dude. Okay, the lunar flip thing, it came up on my Facebook less than a week ago. So it's probably like the 9-year anniversary, 8-year anniversary.
I couldn't
And
even tell you what year that was
yeah,
either.
it was probably 20, what, 2016,
It
2015.
had been like 2013 or something because it was before I was sponsored, I think.
Yeah. Well, so here's what happened, everyone. Krom put out a contest to see who could do the most lunar flips in a row consecutively without stopping. And for a few days, there was like back and forths with a few people that were like, oh, I got like 10 and I got 50 and then I got 70. And it got pretty insane. It was you and maybe Liho Chung who were competing in the end. I can't remember who was
I
going.
Keith.
Keith,
Keith
that's
had
who it was.
Which, to be fair, I want to put a disclaimer on it. Keith's record way more legit than mine. Not because I was like handing or anything. He did his on a wood grain, Ken.
Jeez.
Absurd. I did it on the literally the grippiest Tama I've ever felt in my life. So I just want to throw a lot of more respect to Keith's way for that, for doing it probably a little bit more legit.
Yeah.
But you know what? It was raising money for cancer. I'm willing to take that bullet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what the game was, however many flips were landed, that's how many dollars they would donate to.
Yeah, $10 for every flip.
$10 for every flip. Yeah. And so and that's cool all in itself. There's no reason we remember this contest only because of the interaction you and your father had. Because Jake is in his crib in like the hallway ripping lunar flips, and he's at like 110, 115, just going like this. And his dad goes, Jake, stop that noise. Your sister's sleeping. And Jake goes, Dad, as he's lunar flipping, he goes, Dad, you don't understand. And it's like the most, you can't make it up how the interaction, how perfect it was. Because he doesn't miss a beat. You just keep going and eventually you miss. But like, tell me your memory of that because I'll never forget it for my whole life.
Like the funny thing about that is, so after I got it, or after I filmed that clip, I would like, it had been a few minutes prior to the end that happened. So like, as far as I'm concerned, in one ear, straight out the other. Like I was
Yeah.
dialed. Like, I was dialed. And so I'm watching the video back because I wanted to get a count in. And I meant to take the audio out of this. I swear on my life, my full intention was to rip the audio out of this thing so that that moment would die with me. Like that, like I wanted that to not be a thing. And then it started blowing up. And the funniest thing about that is like that was like the first thing I ever did that like actually got some like traction amongst the people I wanted it to get traction in. You know
Got
what I
it.
mean?
Crazy. Yeah.
Oh, and that, like, I remember Dave commented on it, Haley commented on it. It was like my first time, like, finally, like, breaking through, you could say, and I was just so stoked about it, and I was so embarrassed that it has me arguing with my dad in the middle of it, like, and my dad wasn't too stoked either once
Oh,
I told him the story.
yeah.
He was just like, I told him that it was more funny than anything. He's like, I don't really love that most people remember me for that, but like, I was like, what are you gonna do, Dad? Like,
I mean, it's not like he came and hit you, like he didn't
no,
even
yeah,
stop
exactly.
you. He just let you keep
Oh
going.
no. He was in his recliner at that point. God himself couldn't have pulled him out of that chair. Like, yeah.
That's such a dad thing. Oh, that's so hilarious.
But yeah, dude, like it.
We gotta do. I'm sure the
What
clip
is
somewhere. If someone has the clip or can find it, I know it's on my
well,
Facebook. If I go back, I'm sure I can find
that's
it.
the funniest thing is like I thought this clip was dead and buried. I thought it was done.
Oh
And
no, no.
nobody had found it for like years and years. And I was with my ex at the time, and Hannah and her were talking, and Hannah, curse her to hell, um, brought it up. Took my ex 5 minutes to find this video. 5 minutes on
Of
Facebook,
course, yeah.
found this video and brought it in. I think Hannah has it still somewhere.
Yeah, it's shared
So
too much on Facebook now for it to disappear. That's for sure. Well, we'll find it.
you know, a guy can dream. A guy can dream, right?
Yeah, dude. Okay, so you got your first kendama. You do this lunar contest. Like, when does Kenko come into the picture? How do you get approached by them?
So I don't know exactly the exact. I don't know the exact timeline as far because to be totally fair, I don't remember what year this lunar thing happened. I'm fairly sure it was before 2014. I think it was before we ever met because
Really?
I don't think I had been sponsored by this point. Someone, please feel free to fact check me here, but I had always had this idea that it was one of the first things that got me like a lot of notoriety and pushed towards being sponsored.
February 2014.
February 2014. Okay. So I guess it was right around the Kenko sponsorship then,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, that was only a few months before we met then.
Dang.
That was April 2014. So Kenko, remember Kenko amateur nights? I think they were called.
Of course. I mean, you
Yeah,
were the king of
yeah.
them.
No, I
Well,
wasn't. That people. That is Mandela history or Mandela
the
effect taking
Mandela effect.
place.
Yeah. Tell everyone what
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is, because a lot of
So
people don't
Kenko
know.
Amateur Nights was a weekly or bi-weekly contest that Kendama Pro would host on through their Facebook. And it would be they'd pick a theme for whatever week it was, bird, lunar, balance, whatever it may be, and you'd have to film a 1-minute edit by the end of the weekend or whatever the deadline was, submit it, and they would come out with a first through third usually.
Mm-hmm.
And they did, I think towards the end they started splitting up between pro and amateur, but in the beginning it was all amateur night. So it was just supposed to be for people who weren't sponsored.
Got you.
And at the time, the heavy hitters of the non-sponsored kit, the Jimmy Jacobsons, the Drew Stangers, like at the
Yes.
time period, were all over that. And like
Mhm.
yeah, dude, like I was just hammering those. And I remember the first time, I think Sam Ullman actually reached out after one of them. He's like, you were right there about to place this week, man. Like, just keep trying. And I remember that. I was like, well, I'm Kenko for life now for that. Because of that.
Dang.
It was like the first time I'd gotten an interaction with someone that I saw as like being an upper tier Kendama like
Yeah.
personality or person. So it was a very big deal to me at the
Wow.
time.
One
And,
comment changed your life, dude.
well, no, it was a private message. That was what it.
Oh, got it.
That was
Okay.
why it was more important.
Yeah.
Like a comment, sure, but he sent it to me directly, so I was like, all right, that's something I could build off of. That's a foundation point. There might be something here.
Yeah.
Because you remember back then, people weren't getting sponsored. Like
No.
it wasn't something that happened. Like it was that I don't know if people had even gotten picked up since the Kusa contest at that point. I think it was just closed shop all around.
Yeah, we had a
And,
few. We had sponsored like Willie and Christian and Chaz, I think, by that point. But it was us and Kusa. Like, we were the two people who had squads. And then Kenko had a squad early on because, like, Chad was on it, right? Like, Chad and Ernie and a bunch of...
No. Early Willie P was on the first gen.
Oh,
We're
my
talking
gosh.
Willie P, Nick Sturgios, Alex Sierra, Danny Mason.
Dang, Danny Mason. I haven't heard that name.
I'm pulling names out of the rabbit hat.
Holy.
I'm missing one, I think. Oh, that's gonna kill me. But yeah, Nick Sturgios, Alex Sierra was the original Steez Below the Knees, the original Stilt Lord. I still like his.
Alex Sierra?
I think they're gone now. I think those edits are gone now. I want to say Chad mentioned that to me once. His edits, which would be a travesty.
Yeah, horrible.
Yeah, but yeah, no. So Co had that team.
Gus, Gus was the other one.
Gus, that's what it was.
Good job, C average.
Dude, yes. And yeah, 3 out of 5 stars.
Yeah. We talked about him a lot last week with Norks because that's who got Norks fully into Dama. Mm-hmm.
I bet, dude. I mean, hell, those guys. I mean, I could talk about those old personalities that like played a big part in my like the Kendama Edmonton crew.
Dude,
like,
yeah.
Edmonton edits, like, dude. And back then, the funniest thing to me is just the Facebook link. How we used to do that. It was just post that link on everyone's wall you can. Yeah. Post it in groups and get as many eyes on that thing as possible. And like when it broke 2,000 views, you were like, "Yes, I made it!" Like, yes.
Yeah, dude.
And it was just, yeah. I miss those times because they were simpler, but I don't think Kendama's in a. Like, I think Kendama's in a much better place, obviously.
Well, social media is just different. It's just not the same as when we started. So, like, when you joined Kenko, was Bonds on yet or no?
So I joined in the Kenko Pro contest, which happened, I think, right after, or almost some overlap with the Sweets one that got Norks picked up.
Oh, okay.
I remember Cannon had his round 2 entry, and then for you guys, and then immediately spit out his co-entry, and I was like, "How the hell is he doing this?"
Yeah,
I was like, "There's not been this much time." Like, but
he was goated.
Yeah, so I got in on that, and that's when I got named on the Junior Pro team, which started all the Junior Pro shit.
I forgot about the Junior Pro team. Oh, who were fellow Junior Pros with you? Do you remember?
These 2 guys next to me. No, it was just me.
It wasn't. You were the only one. I thought they added more.
Only one. It was because they felt like I could be on the pro team, but I couldn't travel or do any of the other things that like pros need to have responsibility for. So it was like it was a transition piece, and I leaned into it heavily because like I'd seen people doing hashtag pro shit for years. So I was like, all right, this is my time to get in on this. Just junior pro shit.
I love that, dude. So you got your junior pro title, and then Spokane, Spowtown Throwdown happens essentially.
Yes. Yes. That was the first time I'd ever traveled outside of hell, it might be my first time on a plane.
Dang.
No, third time on a plane. Yeah, third time on a plane, and I could only travel with Chad.
I was gonna say Chad was the only reason you were able to go, right?
Mr. Covington, he was able to talk to my parents, and this is no slack to anyone else in Kendama, but can you imagine a better person to be the ambassador for the community to my parents than Chad Covington?
Yeah.
No, there was nobody better. It was literally a match made in. I owe that guy so much because if that meeting goes a different way.
Oh, sure.
A lot of stuff changes.
Oh, dude. Same with Willie P. Like, same with Gallagher's. Like, all those things along the line. Like, I talked to so many parents who were like, okay, are you a real responsible human, or are you just a crazy dude who does Kendama stuff, you know? But like, I'm a real human.
I think back on it. It's like, I can't believe my parents ever said yes. Like, I was 17 years old, and they were like,
17, though. I mean, you should start being able to figure out life at 17, or you have some experiences, I think. 13, now that's a different, 13's a different discussion. That's when Willie let him travel with me, like to different places. And I was like, 13?
My parents would have just laughed if I asked them at 13. They would have straight up just laughed at me.
Yeah,
Honestly, I don't think my parents believed me that anyone was willing to like pay for my flight anywhere. I think they thought I was just like blowing smoke up their rear.
To like go on, you were just gonna go with your
Yeah,
high school
like
buddies somewhere for the weekend.
yeah, they just do like I don't think they believed me, like because it's an unheard of thought. It's like, yeah, dude, I play this cup and ball thing. Someone really wants me to go play with the cup and ball in Washington, like, and you don't know them. I'm not gonna let you know them. So like, can I go? Like, it's a crazy idea.
So
because
did
I was
you?
also
But like, did you tell your parents you were good? Like, did they see you playing and were like, "Wow, you've gotten good at that," or were they kind of just oblivious to your like skill with
they
it?
weren't oblivious.
Okay,
So
okay, got it.
this is kind of a touchy point with me and my parents.
Okay, we don't have to talk about it. We can back off.
No, they swear up and down that I like kept them out of it. I didn't keep them out of it, but I was very private about it. Like,
Okay.
I'm not the type of person to like come home and be like,
Mom and Dad, guess what I
done?"
did? Yeah.
Yeah, like it's just not. I'm not bragging out. I try not to be, at least.
Yeah.
I don't know if other people. Besides the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't try. I'm not that person. At least I don't want to be. So
Mhm.
like that's just. And my parents would have to. Essentially, they'd find out online before hearing it from me, because it's not like I'm getting off stage in Japan and being like, "All right, let me text them real quick." Like, but the funny thing, you might even remember this. I think it was 2016. It was my second year at Cup, and I think I had high hopes for myself. I had practiced pretty hard, and I had like practiced to this one song. Pretty much, like I knew where I was supposed to be in my run, where I was in this song. This is
Dang.
the only year I ever planned out my final run before the prelims. Every other
Wow.
year, I just why assume I'm gonna do it.
Well, that's a
So,
confidence thing. You'd been there once before. You like knew you knew the tricks, so you wanted to
but
win. You
if
didn't
I
want to take second.
but it's one of those things, like if I assume that I'm gonna get it done, then I'm gonna take it for granted, and that's
Ah.
not yes. So, but you'll I so they start the run and I start squatting down and my phone is unlocked in my pocket because I pressed the song and then went. Because it was open, every time I squatted down, it shuffled the song. Let me tell you, I did not I mean, you might remember, I did not handle this well. I think the people that were trying to calm me down were Rolf, B. Meyer, and I want to say maybe Wyatt. And you remember, so you know where the KWC arena is?
Yeah.
You remember that 7-Eleven that's at like the bottom of the
Yeah.
hill, or the
Mhm.
Lost it might
Yes.
be?
It's a 7-Eleven. Yep.
Yeah. My headphones did not last very long in front of that place. I stomped those things into dust,
Oh.
and I went inside and I got myself a drink. And let me say I was cranky probably the rest of the night, to put it bluntly.
You had a
Yeah.
few sodies that day, but I think there's there's a lot to unpack there, but I think it just shows your competitive nature. Like you never took it to that extreme other places, but I can imagine why when you traveled to Japan and you practiced more than you've practiced in your life and your expectations of yourself were higher than they've ever been. And to have something as simple as an unpaused phone ruin your chances is like you feel shitty for more than a couple reasons. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
because you
and
didn't
that's the
even get
thing
to
is
show your true skill. Like you were stopped before you ever got
KW
started.
KWC is one of the few events that, like, if I made qualifiers and the night before that comp is a chill night, we're going back to the hotel and we're planning out our run. Because
Yep.
the reality is the company paid a lot. This isn't like a trip to Minneapolis. This isn't like a trip to Michigan or a drive to Nashville. They paid a substantial chunk of cash to get me there. The least I can do is take that part seriously,
Yep.
where they get the most value. Like that's the least I can do.
Yep.
Other events, I think there's some leeway with that. But
Sure.
I mean, because you like I hung like I was family with Bonds. Like he ticks differently. Like and
Yeah.
there's nothing I love more about him is the fact that he didn't take anything too seriously beforehand, but he took competition seriously, and I did too. I
Mm-hmm.
hate it. You know me pretty well. You know I hate losing. I
Yeah.
hate it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't want to go up there unless I'm prepared. Like that's a big part of it because I don't like losing. a lot of time will ruin my day.
Yeah, well,
And yeah,
yeah, you're in the camp with another human. Like Wyatt's gotten way better at it because he's been competing now and kept competing and pushed through that hard part. But for a long time, he was on your level where your expectations are so high and you are so frustrated that it's impossible to hide it from the crowd. Like, and MKO is what I'm talking about. I can remember the days on stage where I wanted to tell you just to like take it easy and it's not the end of the world, but like you were off the stage so fast I couldn't even say anything to you because you were so.
I don't want anyone to say anything to
Yeah,
me when I come on the
yeah.
stage. That's the thing. Like I don't want anyone trying to make me feel better because the reality is the blame lands on these two shoulders.
Dude, yeah.
That's it. I
Mhm.
am no one else's responsibility. My actions are no one else's, and the disappointment is no one else's but mine. And that's why I don't want. Yeah, I don't want to make it anyone else's problem. I don't want to even be around anybody. I mean, hell. The worst one was the year I actually won NACA, or it was MKO at the time, the freestyle. I think this event was a big reason why freestyle became such a big staple of every event because like it wasn't prior to 2015 MKO. But I had all these intentions of winning open that year. And I was up 2-1 in a match, I think against your own George Marshall.
Mhm.
I was up 2-1 and I lost. And I think at the time that amusement park was under construction. And I found I think it was like an access elevator like behind the corner. And let's just say I blew my top in there for a few minutes. And then I came back and I was like, all right, well, I only have freestyle left. So let's just go put all our energy into freestyle. And
Mhm.
that ended up being the best thing that, I mean, hell, I almost would put that more important than catch and flow because Fish Special came out of that.
I was just gonna say, I mean, that's the biggest question. I guess not the biggest, but the most asked question of today through all my channels has been, where did the fish special come from? And like, do you have any part in it?
So when I'm like, or when I was preparing for like a top 16 or an invitational freestyle, I don't plan out what I'm gonna do in freestyle. I think that's against the excuse me, the spirit of it.
Hmm.
To go up there with like a full-fledged plan because I think performance based like that, I think that's an entirely different thing than freestyle.
Sure.
Like the yo-yo type thing, like
Yep.
I think that's a different type of competition than what I think freestyle is.
Hmm.
So I would go in there or I would get just ideas of combos in my head. Like I would just practice set of tricks, like a combo, let's say an inward lunar one. I think I did like an insta back to that at one of the recent MKOs. Like I just focus on small combos like that, and then how to piece them together. That's in the moment. I pick whatever I'm feeling right there. Because usually, if I think about it too much, that's when I miss.
Well, that's what made you good though too. Like piecing things together wasn't a thing yet, I think, and that's maybe where you need to give yourself a smidge of credit. Like the dude who won the year before you was Matt Ballard, I think. Like so, and his was a very chill, very melodic freestyle. Yours was like what
It's set in
freestyle
stone.
is today, dude. Like because the tricks you're doing, you like you just said, you had a couple combos, but then you juggled in between. You were doing late Ken flips in between. Like there were things that's when those things started, was when you started doing them and made it look like it was nothing on stage. And I think that maybe inspired others to start playing in that style a little bit.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. I
Mm-hmm.
do. Um, it's one of those things that I never see anything I did as that big because I pulled everything I did from other people. I'm not a creative person whatsoever. There's not an artistic bone in my body.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All my tricks were stuff I saw other people do, and I might have added a flip in there or an extra Ken flip over there. But like that was it. I didn't come up with anything on my own. Fish Special is 3 tricks that were known just together.
And what are
Like
they for
that's
everyone listening and watching who don't know? What is Fish Special?
okay. So you got 1.5.
Airplane 1.5 trade spike.
Let's pretend I spiked that.
Okay.
And then
Airplane
juggle.
1.5 juggle spike.
All right, I got to get some more room here to get this last
All
part.
right. Airplane 1.5 jug
Oh,
late Ken flip spike.
they've been there both times. I'm just rusty.
Dude,
I'm
it's a
fresh.
hard trick. It's a hard trick,
There we go.
dude. It's
But
not an
yeah,
easy
like
combo, but this is a trick that I think Don Dama said it the best. You defined spam. You were the spammiest freestyle player. You didn't stop to get applause or anything. You just went trick to end. And the thing about you, bro, is you didn't miss. In your prime, and why you didn't, like why you were at every freestyle and in the finals, is you just didn't miss tricks. And whether or not you thought the tricks you were doing were easy for you, in freestyle, it's more that you don't miss, and your style was fun to watch, so it was easy to put you through as long as you were spiking stuff, which you were really good at, man. And that's
that
that was
so
dope.
that kind of defines my whole view on freestyle to a point because like
Mm-hmm.
this is something that I see every event. It drives me up a wall, sweets. As far as things that make no sense to me, this is one of the top 3 things.
Ooh,
The
listen up, everybody.
people that do like a spike and then reset in a freestyle. Are you out of your mind? Like, are you kidding? Like, have you ever listened to a crowd? The more you don't stop, as long as you sprinkle in spikes in there, because you don't want to go too long without getting a spike, because then it's just going to be a null trick if you miss.
Yes,
Sprinkle
exactly.
spikes in there, but never reset after a spike. Come on, make it crazier. Bro, like, because the way I look at kendama is like there's freestyle sports, like there's like skateboarding, snowboarding, stuff like that. I have personally no experience doing,
Mm-hmm.
but I look at it the same as that. Like, there's that big payoff,
Yep.
and like you can, like if you watch back, you'll never see me reset a spike ever because
Mm-hmm.
the crowd gets louder every time a spike happens. So, in freestyle, whether people can try and put numbers, quantities, and quantify it. The crowd has a very big role to play in freestyle judging.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very big role. I haven't personally done it, but the louder you get the crowd, the chances of you winning are something tells me those are correlated. Something
Do you have any interest in being a judge? Like if I asked you to judge
like
this year, would you think about it?
yeah, I told Chad I'd be a backup judge for battle this year. Like if
Cool.
somebody like just like got sick or something, or like a flight got delayed, or they can come in,
Mm-hmm.
I do it. I don't think it's something I. Are you talking about for NACO?
Yeah,
That's a
no, I'm not literally asking you, but like let's say I DM you in a couple months being like, "Yo, I'm figuring out NACO judges." Like,
It would not be a no off the bat. I would
word.
only wanna judge freestyle. I really don't have any interest in judging open.
Yeah.
Um,
No. That's what
so
freestyle is what I
I
meant.
am interested in uniformity and standardizing open competition because I think that's the only thing Kendama has that we can standardize. Like, I think it
It's
way
true.
more than you can with freestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Because freestyle, like I said, no matter how much you wanna put numbers to it, it's an opinionated vote every time.
Yep.
So, like and with open, that you don't have that. It for the most part, it's either in or out. And what I want to do more than anything is standardize or like there be a central governing body for not governing body. That sounds too official, but central guide for competitions to be held and like the way open's supposed to be ran, that kind of and the way judging is supposed to be done. Because I
Mm-hmm.
think you and I both know what people think is clear varies quite differently between me and the next guy.
Well, yeah, and when we
So
have these competitions, we need so many volunteer judges to get through the day that it's like we're not judges aren't being paid. They're getting a free
no,
day of the
and that's
event, like so they're only trying as hard as they need to, which
No, and it's not knocking them.
oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's their own opinion, and that. But what I'm getting at is, it's hard for me to see a future for competitive kendama with this stuff as loose as it is. A
Mhm.
future beyond, or I guess, a tier or two above up what we are at now, as
We
far
need
as
a
like
league. Yeah, someone needs to start a league of some sort. And I think no company owner wants to be the person to do it, and no outsider feels right starting it. So it's like we're here until there are enough players. I think there just aren't enough competitors yet to make a league worth anyone's full-time job. I think is the hardest reality
absolutely.
to say out loud on this interview
No,
because
absolutely.
it's the thing we run into always. We like you don't think any of us want nationals and quarterfinals and all these things, but there's not enough people in each state who play to actually like warrant that.
I have
So
ideas. I don't have solutions.
yeah,
That's the
I know
problem.
that's
That's the
everybody.
problem.
That's
Yeah.
everybody, bro. But I think we're on our way there eventually. It's just a
Oh,
matter of time. But
I mean,
Kendama has to get bigger.
honestly,
So many people still just
having the
don't know we're a
records
thing.
having the records on what is it, challenge?
Yeah,
Like,
challenge.
that's
Yeah,
that?
that's
Yeah.
where we do most of
Hanging
our.
records of events like that, and that alone is a huge step forward than what we used to do.
Mm-hmm.
The notebook from the park, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, it's definitely a step in the right direction. I
Yeah.
just think that's where we need to go.
Yeah.
But
No, I would
yeah,
agree.
it's
So let me we keep jumping around. Fish Special wasn't invented
oh,
by you. Do you know who invented Fish Special? Like who
well,
coined it? Who made it a trick and said do
I
this
really,
combo?
I really did get off topic. Yeah,
I love it. This is a good podcast. We're talking about all kinds of stuff.
no, no, I was focused on doing that. It was just something I came up with before that MKO. That like it was something I wanted to throw in into my run if I could. And it was
But
just a simple progression. So that's how I came to it. It was
my
just one
question
point.
is though, Fish Special, you didn't leave NACO that day going, did you guys see my Fish Special in
Oh,
freestyle? Do you
I have
like who put that combo out in the world as Fish Special? Do you know the answer?
do not.
Oh,
Know.
nice.
I
So
do not
chat.
know where that came from. It was actually told to me. Like I heard it before I knew of it. Like I
Uh,
heard someone say "do fish special," and I was like, "You want to repeat that for me real quick?"
okay, I
Yeah.
need the lore now, chat. You are officially tasked with figuring out who coined the Fish Special, and because it had to have been in a tricks list, I think. I feel like it was like a, battle at the border trick list or someone.
Dude,
You know what I'm saying?
I don't think it's ever been like I don't think it's ever been a trick before in a comp. Like
Yeah.
what I honestly think is just word of mouth. And
Yeah.
like fish special is a lot easier than saying 1.5 swap, airplane, 1.5 juggle swap. And I think it was just like that. It was like people thought it was a cool combo, and then they saw me do it, and it was just I mean, I'm not complaining. That name, like I think I've told you this before. I'm more proud of the fact that that's the name of that trick
Yeah.
than pretty much every one of my other like wins in Kendamas because like that trick is gonna outlive me by a long shot. Like
Yeah.
it being called it like you have it with Sweet Special, like that'll be around for forever.
Yeah,
Like
dude. But I named mine after myself, so yours is cooler because people named it after you. I think that's a very cool honor, and I think it's maybe like 6 years now that I've been hearing it. So we'll have to track it down. We'll figure out where it came from, and I'll let you know if I find out.
yeah,
From
I mean, if anyone
chat.
can definitively prove it, I'd be very impressed. I'm of the mind that it was just by word of mouth became the lingo.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Okay.
if somebody give them the credit, yeah.
Yeah, I want to find it out. We'll find the lore. There's enough people here. There's 120 people in here. Someone's got to be able to track it down, dude. So I want to talk about Kenko days just a smidge more because, like, you guys were known for partying. You were known for having a good time. Bonds was in the peak of his life at that point, and you were his sidekick to not to a bad extent, but to like you guys were always
Oh,
just traveling together everywhere, right?
hell,
Like,
admittedly,
yeah.
like
Obviously we can't talk about everything, but is there like when I say you Bonds traveling 2015, like is there a trip or like an instance where you're like, man, this is nuts? Like, how did we get into this situation? Or
so one thing to note before I get into that is when I was on you'll remember this. Like
yeah,
I was the baby faced innocent kid that everyone. So I didn't really get that reputation on my own until I was already on Krom. But people assume like I was pretty well behaved back then. But as far as trips back then with the crew, my favorite one is KBC 2015. It was our first night in Japan. I was told by Dero and them that the best way to get ahead or just kind of knock out jet lag in one go is pull an all-nighter the first night. So that's what we did. We went, and you might remember this. I think this was the spot where we were locked up in that hostel after like 8:30.
You stayed up on the mountaintop, right? We took a half-hour bus to get to the top of the mountain.
This is when we were in Osaka. This is
Oh,
before
okay.
the trip. Remember the place that we
Got kicked out of eventually? Yeah. Is that where Kusa was staying too?
Yes, with the rooftop picture.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, okay.
I'm not gonna go into that. But so it was at that place in Osaka, and we ended up going out before they closed the doors anyways, so we just stayed out all night, and we went rooftop climbing.
Of course you did.
Dude, watching the like sunrise on a Japanese roof at 17 years old, my first trip to Japan, first like long distance like trip longer than a weekend. Dude, I was ecstatic to be there. I was just so just giddy. Hell, I think I was smiling for 10 days straight. Like
For real though.
dude, that first trip to Japan was amazing. Like, yeah, then there was a right when we got off the bus in Hatsukaichi, we went to that little hole in the wall noodle spot it has the floor that you kind of drop into, like
Oh,
your feet drop below the table.
yeah, yeah.
There's just 2 tables in the back, and there's 6 bar seats.
Yep.
It's a spot everyone always goes to.
Mm-hmm.
But so it was my first time there, and me and D-Ro are there getting food, and Tomotsu's there with a few of the other Gloken crew and one of the local like TV casters or whatever. My first time there, admittedly, not the most cultured white guy in the world,
Yeah, yeah.
admittedly.
17.
So,
It's okay.
yeah, at 17, private school,
Yeah.
I wasn't, like, chowing down on Asian food all the time, so
Yeah.
I get over there, and I'm like, my dumb ass is looking for a fork, like, I'm just like, "Where's a" and there's only chopsticks, so then I have to face that daunting reality that I have to do this in front of a bunch of actually Japanese people for the first time. Let me tell you, and they had a camera with them. They watched me for 15 minutes try and grab this one piece of beef.
Yeah.
I had udon noodles with beef. That was what I
Beautiful.
was eating. Oh, it was great, except for the fact that I had to fight my way for the entire meal, but
Yeah,
yeah.
Zawa's definitely recorded me and laughed his butt off watching me try to do chopsticks the first couple times. Like they take great joy in watching us fail, dude. But
Was that the flicking trip?
oh God, yes. But that
I'm
doesn't get talked about.
No,
I talked about that somewhere, but it is deep in the internet. That is not a known story. But I think that was that year. But because did you
I think it was
stay
2015.
up on top of the mountain that year in the
Yeah.
onsen? Yeah. So that was
Most
probably one of the
fun.
craziest years. We had 4 buses. All the Chinese homies and Taiwanese homies were there from all over. It was probably one of the biggest international KWCs of all time. Was
Yeah, and it was
2015.
when there weren't 2 spots, so everyone had to be up there.
Dang, that's actually true. Wow. And now we're just staying in Airbnbs, dog. Just taking the train
I
to
mean, it's the way to
Hatsukaichi.
go. Like, as much
Yeah.
as I love, like, those group settings, like, it is just it's tiring.
It was a
Like,
lot. The being on the bus for 4 hours or whatever, a whole day was just like a whole part of the
remember the year
experience.
remember the year I finessed that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, me and Benji on the Shinkansen getting off all fresh. You guys are all hag, and we're just like, "What's up, guys?"
Yeah, I
It
hated
was the
everyone
most
who
fun.
was on the Shinkansen, dude.
Okay, alright. Where did I get off track?
Oh, nowhere. We were talking about your favorite trip. So 2015
Okay,
KWC.
alright, yeah.
Like we didn't.
That's my favorite co-trips. Definitely one of my favorite co-trips. Hell, even MKO 2015 with Bosch and Bonds. It was the 3 of us there. That
Yeah.
was a solid trip too. It's one of these things it's all one gigantic trip in my head until I hear specific things to pull out
Same.
specific events.
Well, dude, we can't finish talking without talking about Krom. Let's talk
Oh
about
yeah, I
how did Co end and how soon was Krom after? Because I feel like there wasn't a lot of time in between those two things.
no. So Co ended, I believe it was summer 16. We were in Japan still, actually, when most of this stuff was breaking,
Dang.
and you probably remember it. It was FKC, our buddy Gurr, and I'm not gonna
I
go into
forgot. I forgot that's
yeah, I'm
who it
not gonna go
was.
into the salacious details of the whole thing, but eventually, Co closed its doors, shuttered
Mm.
its doors, and I had it was probably the most fun I've ever had over the course of 3 months. I just had a bunch of people telling me how sweet they thought I was, trying to get me on their team. So I'm just not gonna lie, it was just kinda cool getting my ego stroked like that for a couple months,
Dude.
like,
Yeah, I was on
but
that team. I tried to stroke your ego a smidge, dude. We were homies, and I was
oh,
trying to be extra
and I
nice to you.
repaid. I won catch and flow on a sweets Dama. That's worth something, right?
Dude,
Like,
we traveled that whole trip together, and I was like, if there's ever a chance old fishy would come over to Sweets, this would be the time, but it was not meant to be,
that
dude.
was that when you guys still had, like, your 30-man army?
Yeah, that was one of the years we had the most people go.
I think that was honestly my big stopping point was just like, I like being a bit more up the pecking order than I would have been.
A lot of people do. I think that's your
that's the
pro model
ego.
is how many months away, if not years. I think that's a
Yeah, and
tough
I
reality.
think that because Sweets, I love you to death,
Yeah.
man. We always play up at every event.
Yeah.
Like it's been 10 years of this shit, man. Like,
Yeah, that's so hard
and
to believe.
I know, dude. I was 16, 26.
Yeah.
Like,
Jeez.
but yeah, so Krom, I went to Catch and Flow actually with Gloken.
2016. Yeah.
Yeah, because the year I won Catch and Flow, I was technically unsponsored, which I've always been really proud of.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because Gloken flew me out there because I won. I guess from MKO, or for some reason they wanted me to go out there.
Yep.
Which who the hell ever
cool with me?
No.
Yeah.
And it was also the shortest trip. I was in Japan flew in on Thursday, left on Sunday.
Wow. Dang, that's a short Japan trip. I did that for Catch and Flow 1 year too, and that is, you're in a plane almost longer than you're on the ground in Japan. It's actually crazy.
Yeah, it was tough because that was when I was just starting college. It was just when I was starting college.
So you had all kinds of stuff to do when you got back.
Yeah. I mean, hell, it's how I paid for my fraternity dues, so I'm very glad I won.
Yeah.
I don't know how it would feel, but yeah, I went to Krom, and like, you know how Bonds and I are. Like, they were always ahead in the race just because of Bonds more than anything.
Of course.
And they really sold me on the idea of the fact that it was just me and Bonds in the States at the time. I was really sold on that idea, just being pretty much me and Bonds versus everybody.
Yeah.
I was just, because like you mentioned the like sidekick thing. Admittedly, yeah, sure, dude. That's everyone. Yeah, that's your favorite player's favorite player. Like the dude's won like 4 world championships at this point, 3 maybe. Like I'm all right playing second fiddle to that. Like that's cool.
Of
course. And I didn't have the time to go any deeper than I was. Like I didn't have the time to go more full Dama. Hell, that's why I was still in college until very recently. So,
yeah,
so
dude.
Clearly balancing my time wasn't something I was great at.
Well, and I guess, without going into super detail, is that essentially the story of the rest of your kendama career? Like school became more important, life became more important, and posting already wasn't something you loved to do. So like you just naturally.
I tried to tell people for years leading up to it that eventually I was gonna get a degree and I was gonna start my career. I just and to their defense, I gave them a good fake out. It would have been way longer than originally anticipated. So but eventually I was gonna have to take a step back. Like as much as I love kendama, I don't see a long term. I need more financial security than that.
Yes,
as
of course.
Not a company owner, as a non-company. So I had to step away at some point. It got to a point where I'd been in school for so long, I needed to make a choice. Because clearly I couldn't do both.
Yeah.
Clearly I couldn't do both. So I just had to make a choice. And to be fair, it got to the point in kendama where I knew I didn't love all my responsibilities anymore. And when I really thought about it, I was just standing in the way of some other kid getting to do all the amazing shit I got to do.
Sure.
Like me sticking around, holding on by a thread, refusing to let go, like the old varsity quarterback.
It's a tough reality to swallow. It's like a tough thing to look in the face.
I'm cool with everything I did in kendama. I have no regrets. I was I did a lot, and I got to live a really cool life that I had no business living before I was 23 years old. It was wild, the stuff I got to do. I'm so thankful for it. It's just, it's time for me to put my energy or to put my focus somewhere else. Because obviously I still love kendama. I'm still around. I'm doing this interview. I was at battle. And if NACO happens, wink, wink, I'll still hopefully be there too.
Yeah.
So it's not like I don't like kendama or I don't love it. I don't like the people anymore. It's just my time posting, my time being a pro player. I'm done with that. But definitely not with kendama.
Yeah. When that being said, you see the level of skill. Can you still rip? You still play every day? You still pick up a dime every week?
Until I magically get rid of my ADHD, I imagine I will. So yeah.
Yeah.
It just comes to, it's nothing to this day. Nothing's better for my like needing to keep my hands busy than kendama is. But yeah, like it's just the idea of like grinding for a new trick or something. Like, 'cause I see what these kids are doing these days. My back hurts just watching, dude. Like,
Yeah, my back hurts
it's
trying to keep up with them. That's for sure, bro.
yeah, and like this string stuff. And the last thing I'll say about this is my style of playing kendama was very combo based because I felt like you could really do a trick once you threw it in the middle of a bunch of other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way I feel about a lot of single tricks these days is like, all right, I can go post up in front of the camera and just fuck stuff too, and eventually something's gonna go in.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather see like I just yeah, that's why I feel a little bit of disconnect from tricks these days is because it's with Instagram, you just want to get it out.
Yeah.
Because otherwise someone might take the idea. So like it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
So
No,
there's I don't know the right answer. I just know that
you're not playing that
like,
game. You're not
I
interested
like
in playing that game.
correct. But
let me ask you. I asked people on Instagram to give me some questions, and I would hate to go the whole episode and not ask any of the ones people sent. So let me ask a couple. Okay. Yeah, give me fast answers to these ones. Are we still eating, fam?
Always.
If Nako isn't in person this year, will you fight me?
I'm assuming it come from Marquise, maybe.
No.
No, I will not be fighting anybody unless I know you personally. If I know you personally, then those hands better be up.
Yeah,
But
and especially if he's been drinking Jägermeister. Holy. If you had to pick 5 people to sesh with every day for the rest of your life, who would it be?
I'm assuming you mean sessions in kendama.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw hangout. I'm gonna throw hangouts in there as well.
Okay, sounds good. Name off your 5.
Bonds, Sloth. I love Sloth.
Dang, that's an old name.
Linden.
Good names.
B. Meyer.
Be nice.
Be Myers. I can't think of a 5th one. Don't make me pick a 5th one.
Okay.
That's my top 4.
Okay. I like it. That's right. You're number 5. How long did it take for you to break in a gur or solid colored zen until it was honed?
Let's just say the concrete played a big role. I put a few days of some concrete slams, some good rages would break them in nice. Yeah.
Do you still play shoeless?
No, not really. I got flip flops on most of the time, but I don't know. I can't remember if I had my shoes on stage or not at battle this year.
Actually,
maybe that's why I lost.
Yeah,
maybe that's why I lost. Yeah,
can't believe no one noticed. Do you love fish?
Yes. I think so. Yes. That's my final answer.
All right, good. Those were the questions. Thanks a lot, everyone who sent them in. And Jake Fischer, man, thanks a lot for joining me today, dude. It was nice catching up with you, talking old dinosaurs. We could talk for another hour pretty easily, but we're gonna end it there. So thanks a lot for joining.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me. Thank you for letting me ramble and talk over you for an hour. So I appreciate it. Yeah, I know we could talk forever. And I do hope everyone that's watching, stay on Sweets about Nako in person. Stay on him because I won't be able to. Yeah, so
I'll have news soon. I'll have news soon, one way or the other. I'll tell you that much. So
I gotta put the pressure on you in front of everybody. I gotta.
Dude, I feel it. So, all right, Jake. Thanks a lot, man. As always, I love you, and we'll talk to you real soon. All right.
Yeah, I love you too, brother.
All right, peace out, buddy.